All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. How you doing, bud? How are you? You all right? You hanging in?
I think you and I are both in the same headspace. It's over. It's toast. Enough of this. It's been brutal. I am, as you guys can bear with me here. I don't know. I feel like a malaise in my head. It's not.
Yeah.
It hasn't fully taken over me yet. I
Sure.
wouldn't call myself. I'm not ready to say that I'm sick yet, but
You feel it? You're on the precipice?
I've been on the precipice for like 4 days.
Yeah. Okay.
So that makes me feel good
Yeah.
on some level. But, yeah, I don't know. Tough. Had a lovely anniversary weekend. It was my 6th wedding anniversary. We got to see, not only did we have that going on this weekend, but we saw the debut of the Addams family from the Hawken Player Society.
Oh, let's go.
Which was fantastic. Arden and Bryce with his stage debut. So he was doing well, but he's now under the weather and coughing and all kinds of stuff. So we're certainly hoping that he feels better soon. But, yeah, so it was that. But it's just, it's one of those things I was thinking about, we on this program, we had Friday and then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and had a lovely kind of what I'd call a staycation with my bride. But at the same time, I feel no more recharged or any. It's just
drudgery.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
It is.
And I got to get the humidity in my house up. I mean, I don't know. It's like rolling at like 20% because it's just so cold and dry, and the heat's always on. So we got to get a humidifier like in when we had the joy of having to replace the furnace 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks
right.
Very recently. The humidifier that was on that furnace has not been working, so we need to get a new one, which we have not yet done. But now I've ordered one, but we gotta get that. I mean, it's just relentless.
It is. That's the way I would use it. Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, there is something to, and this isn't a big fun way to start the program, but there's something to seasonal depression.
Yeah,
like it's brutal. Like Saturday night, I was like, really. Yeah. After everything. Now, we were supposed to go out of town. So we were supposed to go out of town on Thursday. When I left here Thursday, we were leaving. And that was stopped because on Thursday, my wife got sick. So Bootsy did the scene from Stand By Me. That was on Tuesday night. My wife got sick Thursday. So Friday, I said, like, the boys we wanted to get out. We were going to, get out of town. And I'm like, look, let's try to salvage it. So I'm like, what do you want to do? Anything you want to do in the city. We'll do anything you want. So I go, you can each pick. I'll go wherever you want to go. No limits, wherever you want to go. And the older two picked Top Golf, and then Bootsy picked Dave & Buster's. Okay, so there is a Dave & Buster's on the west side.
I would say not too close.
Not close. And then Top Golf's in Independence. So, you had both that you could do. But I'm like, all right, let's do it. Mom's sick. She's ailing. Let's go. So we go to Top Golf. It was great. It was cold, but the heaters were on. It was fun. Played for about an hour and a half. Everybody had fun. That's a win. All right, let's go to Dave & Buster's. So we head out west. We go to Dave & Buster's. So I would just say $200 doesn't go as far as you think at Dave & Buster's.
No, I'd imagine not.
About an hour is what you're going to get out of that.
Pretty good.
About an hour.
Yep.
That's what that amounts to. But Bootsy's having the time of his life. His whole thing is about he just wants the token so he can get something that is free, even though I've paid for it with all of the stuff. So
not really free.
Not free. I mean, I could have bought a bunch of stuffed animals for the amount of money that he
better
charged.
Ones.
He just did claw machine.
Significantly better ones.
But I'm like, look, it's his world. Who am I? Whatever he wants to do, go live, buddy.
Yeah.
So after that, my wife's had a pair of slippers that were a casualty of Bootsy's disaster on Tuesday. So I said, let's go get Mom's sick. Let's go get her some slippers. So we're out by Crocker Park. Let's go get her some slippers. So we're out there. And I'm driving for a place to park. And Beamsy goes, my stomach hurts. And I'm going, what level? Like, is this?
We're not.
Let's find a bathroom, Dad. We got to go. We got to do number 2, or do we?
Yeah.
And he's like me, only home games on that.
Same.
So I said, okay, where are we at? He's like, it's not that. And I went, oh God. So I looked in the car and I'm like, all right, listen, bud. We're 35, 40 minutes from home.
Yeah.
I said, here are 2 empty coffee cups. If you feel the rush of saliva, let me know, And if I can't get pulled over,
coffee cup
it up, baby. That's the best I can hope for. And then NBC goes, wait, Dad, we've got the Dave and Buster's sack from Bootsy's stuffed animal, which is huge. I go, clutch, even better.
Genius.
Brilliant.
Yep.
So we pull over. He goes, Dad, I think I'm going to get – so we pull over at like one of these like minute clinics, not to go in, but rather just to throw up in their parking lot.
Yep.
Best I could hope for. So we stand outside. He's not going. He's like, I think I can make it. So we get in the car. So I tell him, I'm like, buddy, listen to me, Beam. You have got to land the plane in the sack. You got to. I'm not going to be able to get this smell out if you don't. Once you start, I'll pull over and we can do it on the side of the road. That's fine. I'll help you. But please, if this happens while we're driving, get it in the sack. Okay, Dad. Okay. So we start driving.
It's a pretty big target.
It's a big target.
It's enough to get. You could like stick his head in it, literally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it's also an 11-year-old, and
you lose control of your body.
You lose function.
Yeah.
So we take off on the turnpike, and we're like 10 minutes from home, and he doesn't even say anything. He just starts puking.
Oh God.
So the two are in the back seat. NBC and Bootsy are in the back seat. My guy, like, he had it like on like the two handles. He had like this, and he had his head in it, and it's a lot. It's a lot. This isn't a little. This is a ton. And I'm like, thank God for Tesla Autopilot. Thank God. That's the only way I was able to navigate.
I hope everybody's having a late lunch today.
Yeah. So he's doing it, and the other two are in the back. The smell, Dad, the smell. Bootsy's already been sick. NBC and I have not. It's not a pleasant smell.
It's the worst.
I'm like, we got it. I go, buddy, just keep doing it. I'm rubbing his back. I'm like, you're doing great. You're doing great. It was the greatest clutch performance in the history of a child. He did it. He got sick in the sack only, not a droplet in the car, not a drop anywhere, not a cry, not a dad, nothing. Just handled it.
Ugh.
I think it was the greatest clutch performance by a child since like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. I really do. I don't know that any child has ever performed better. Tiger Woods on Mike Douglas. I don't know. It's a short list.
Yeah.
He got home to the point where like when we got home, I'm like, all right, you got to stay in the car. I'll come get it, and then you can get out. Navigated all of that. I said, greatest. I've never seen a better performance out of a child. That was Friday.
Yeah.
Somehow NBC and I got through it. I don't know how. Unscathed.
Although he's not feeling well today, right?
He got home from school today, but I don't know. I mean, but so far I'm in the clear. I told my wife, I'm like, if I get through Saturday, I should be fine. I mean, you and I sleep in the same bedroom. I was next to Beamsy all day Friday. Like, if I'm through Saturday, Sunday, I'm good.
I would think so.
So that's what we did. That was what we did. We just convalesced.
Not fun.
For 4 days.
Not fun.
Suck.
I'm sorry. Were you able, at least in this convalescing, were you able to get some TV in, or to get anything? Was there any distraction you were able to do?
I thought the SNL 50 was perfect.
It was great.
Wasn't it not?
It was great. Yeah. There are a couple things that I think maybe they'd probably, maybe want back. It wasn't like flawless, but it was.
No, but it was truly live.
Perfect.
Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like I was reading yesterday that they did not have a dress rehearsal. So they just did it, because normally they do dress rehearsal at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they just did it. So there was like a mic issue, and Farrell missed a line once or twice, and then Molly Shannon missed one,
with Martin Short,
which was really funny.
Actually
Short
made it better.
Crushed it, made it better.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
I think we still have a little bit of ways to go. The last skit we watched was the alien abduction, where Meryl Streep comes in at the end, and it is, it's unreal. Pedro Pascal is hanging on for dear life. Woody Harrelson is on another planet, appropriately so, for the sketch and just in general, and you could tell they wanted to laugh. So, they were out of control. That sketch was great. The Domingo,
unbelievable.
And then you get Pedro Pascal,
and
and then you get
Carpenter
Bad Bunny. It. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's amazing.
I thought they crushed all of it, and it was interesting. I watched it live.
Yeah.
The NBA All-Star was opposite, and they really
I want to talk to you about that because here's one thing that
should we do all SNL first? And
yeah, SNL. Right. Yeah, and it just.
All right.
I'll tell you, it doesn't take much for me to be jonesing for football again. I'm already like
something real, man.
I was like, I'm already back. I'm loving all the draft content. I'm so ready for football. What are these teams going to look like? Because that's the roster building in the National Football League is so essential to your preseason at least predictions. Not necessarily tied to what actually happens, but it's such a fun year and it's so fast. Dude, we're going to be in Indy next week.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
There will have been 2 weekends without football, and then we're in Indy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it's perpetual, that side. And it needs to be, honestly. Yes. Right. This is what I thought on SNL.
Okay.
I thought, I watched it live. It was a seminal part of my youth.
Totally.
We talked about this last week.
Yep.
So we don't need to rehash this. But I also felt like I was watching a celebration and a time capsule of American history.
Yep. Fair.
That only they can tell and only they have. It's like them in 60 Minutes. There's not much that's survived 5 decades continuously.
Yep.
It just really isn't. So that part of it. The other thing was this show opened with Paul Simon, who's predates us, obviously. We're not that old, who's 80. The monologue was Steve Martin, who's 80. The finals,
he looks fantastic.
He looks exactly the same because he was gray when he was 32, apparently.
Yeah. Maybe that'll work for me.
The final song was Paul McCartney.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay. And the show closes, and this isn't spoiling anything because they obviously went past the end.
Yeah.
Is Martin Short, who's in his 80s. So then you look in the audience, and everyone's like in their 60s, a lot of them, and you go, this is the last one. There won't be a 60. You don't do a 55. The next one you do would be 60. These people are all going to be gone. They're all going to be gone. And I don't know if this show will be the same. It's already changed a lot from in its heyday when you would have to sit down on a Saturday night at 11:30 and watch it live, or else it was gone. You would never see it again unless you had a VHS and you were recording it. Other than that, you'd never see it. Now it's viral and it's clip showy and all that stuff. But there was a little bit of melancholy of like, wow, this is really going to be the last one.
With that group for sure, yeah.
But Lauren's in his early 80s. I mean, he's been there for 45 of the 50 years. So like he was there at the beginning. So like he's going to be gone. They won't. The next one they do will be 60. Most of these people won't be there.
It's true
if they get that far.
And it's sad, but yes, that's very true.
Did you know this? That SNL is the highest rated non-sports television currently on linear television. Non-sports entertainment programming, SNL is higher rated than everything else.
Really?
Yeah. So like all the shows that are on NBC, CBS, all of that.
Yeah, like primetime shows?
Yeah, higher than all of those. They spend $100 million a year still on SNL. Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah, it was great. Larry being there was great.
So good.
Sitting next to Jerry and then Julie Louis-Dreyfus. They were all kind of in the same little area. The crowd was very interesting. They said it was the hardest ticket to get in Hollywood. That
I can't imagine.
Most people had to come without a +1. Mm-hmm. They had to you got your ticket. And there were some couples that were there that are both of star quality. But for the most part, there weren't many. There may be a handful of people I didn't recognize in the audience.
Not many. That was one of the cool things about the Q&A thing that Tina Fey and Amy Poehler did is you'd see like Letterman and you see LD sitting next to Jerry, sitting next to Elaine and like Julie Louis-Dreyfus, but like all of those guys kind of like in the same area. Kevin Costner awkwardly in the middle of everything. He was weird. I don't know what's going on.
Were they ribbing him?
I don't know because he's never hosted the show. So I don't know if they were like I don't know if he was in on it or not, but it was like him and was it
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega
was getting like smoked by Sudeikis.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
They didn't look.
I don't think they were in on it. No, it didn't. That was my view that it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that, but I think that all that stuff was great. I think the cool thing for me, Eddie was before me, but Eddie's movies were a part of our life, our age. They were probably the most important.
4 cheese lasagna, no 3 cheese. That was great. Him as Tracy.
Oh, I don't. I forgot how far you are. So I don't want to ruin anything, but there's you have stuff
Eddie
to look forward to.
Yeah. We got. I think probably have maybe an hour left.
Yeah. So you probably got the. By the way, I thought the Lawrence Welk one with Kardashian had chops. Like she was singing, she was great.
So it's a couple things on that. Number one, she was great. And she's hosted before, right?
She has.
And it was good.
Very good, yeah.
I first met her before she had like blown up.
Yeah.
But was on the way with the Keeping Up with the Kardashians must have been. This is going back to 2000s. Probably late 2000s, I want to say maybe, or mid 2000s.
Okay.
I just started fantasy. I was out there. And Ashton was way ahead of his time with live streaming and was going to do this thing on Ustream that was going to be kind of like a live, kind of not variety show, but just there were going to be a bunch of random things that happened. So you had this girl who came in and she actually sang Taylor Swift, You Belong With Me, and was unreal. They did that live. And then Kim came in to do like a little interview, I guess, or just kind of like hang out, see the studios or wherever they saw it. But it was a part of that show. She is yay tall.
Right.
So tiny. So nice.
Yeah.
So nice. And I'm sure she has done things, everybody in Hollywood, they have done work. She looked in that sketch exactly the same as she did before she got big.
Like physically, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Her face in particular, which is not true of very many people.
No. She's whatever she's doing, that works. Yeah. It's
gorgeous,
subtle. It's not
subtle. And she was so nice. She was so nice. I remember that. She was just incredibly kind and just so little. And then for her to be in that, and she was great. Scarlett Johansson's got a lot of chops.
Yes.
And her singing, I thought that kind of New York where they walked you through the stages of New York was good.
Mulaney was fun. He was fun. I liked him. Yeah.
It was, phenomenal show. We definitely were pumped to watch that Sunday. So we had that, White Lotus.
Have not seen yet. I look forward to it. I mean, you got Uncle Baby Billy in the mix, so I'm excited.
I know. So this isn't really a spoiler. I want Uncle Baby. I like positive, enthusiastic.
Not depressed.
Not depressed, angry.
Yeah. Well, we don't need that. No,
this is a depressed, angry Goggins.
Because he's as good as he is as Uncle Baby Billy.
Because like Justified,
he's better on Justified. He's as good as Uncle Baby Billy. He's better on Justified as Boyd Crowder, and he's not that at all. Like he's a rollick.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this guy's so far, he's not giving me the joy I want from Uncle Baby Billy. No, not at all. He's dark, very down.
Oh, I don't need that.
Very down.
Yeah.
It's good. It's going to hit. They have the formula. It's got a formula. It's good. There's a good reveal at the end of the first one you'll like. I'd recommend that. I have to tell you, though, we are so in Severance. It's like I think about it all the time.
I know. With all the illnesses, we haven't been able to start, but it's up next,
dude.
So those are up next.
You're gonna do it right because we're at the point where we have to wait for the next one until Friday, and like I'm like furious. I don't want to wait at all. No. It's
so hopefully it times out to where we'll just be able to watch and cruise through it.
There's something as we've talked about though, the joy of having to wait and looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's build up. I think you can appreciate something differently when you have to wait for it, and it allows for dialogue around a show. Totally. That's I think White Lotus and those shows on HBO on Sundays. They still have that.
Yep.
Like Succession had that. Like I don't know if Succession would have been the hit that it was if it was Netflix and they dropped a whole season. I don't know if it would have been. I think Ozark would have been a much bigger hit. Had you had to wait week to week to see what was going to happen because that show's unbelievable.
Yeah,
but you were fed
you have good cliffhangers.
Yeah, incredible.
It's fun on a cliffhanger.
I feel I've always been. You and I are very staunch defenders of LeBron James, and all of
absolutely.
And I've said about the only thing I think that he's done negative was choose to leave here in kind of an awkward manner the first time. That was an awkward way to go. Gibbe won't get over it. I also think that Charles Barkley is right, that LeBron's generation ruined the All-Star weekend. I think he's dead
totally.
Right. And I was trying to think, like, how long has this thing sucked that led them to the point where they did what they did this weekend? And I watched about 30. I mean, I popped over on commercials of SNL, but that's about it, with the 4 teams and the playoff and all this nonsense. Barkley's 100% right when he said Draymond's being critical of it, and Chuck said, you're the reason we're here. Your generation is the reason we're here because you stopped caring about the All-Star game. And I do think it was the changing of the guard from Kobe to LeBron.
Yes.
Because there is over the weekend I saw there was a clip of Kobe like guarding LeBron full court, man to man, in the All-Star game. And then blocked his shot.
What about the one Kobe and Jordan where they were like
that was Kobe, one of Kobe's first, Jordan's last.
Yeah.
And they're like, Kobe let Mike, and he's like, no, I'm not doing that. So I do think that when Kobe left, and LeBron is one of the other things he's responsible for is a little bit of the AAUification of the NBA, where we're all going to play with our buddies and all of that. We've kind of gone away from that a little bit now, but there was a decade where that was it. And I just think that generation's, it's kind of like, when your kids reach a certain age when it's like not cool to try. Like I see that in sports.
You're sweat, do your try hard.
You're like, oh, dude, give big effort. Yeah, give big effort. But it's not cool to give big effort. Like sixth grade is when I noticed it. They're like trying to be like too cool to give effort. It's almost like they think they're too cool to try in the All-Star game, and it's killed it. It's done. So it is not. It's been bad for a long time. They've tried a bunch of stuff. They tried the Elam ending and 187, 176, and then they do this ridiculous thing this weekend. And I don't think you can fix it.
What they even do this weekend?
They picked 4 teams. It was Chuck had a team, Shaq had a team, and they played like a tournament to 40. Yeah, that's real. It was a disaster.
So I did not watch it.
I
think you're right.
I think that's a big problem. Is like it became not cool to try in the All-Star game.
But that is also, you mentioned LeBron and you mentioned Kobe and you mentioned Jordan. What do Kobe and Jordan have in common? They are insane competitors, killers.
Yeah.
And it is, I think, true that without a shadow of a doubt, had LeBron been wired like Jordan or Kobe, he would be the greatest basketball player of all time. I think the reason that he's probably not, still in the starting 5, but the reason he's probably not is because he didn't have that. And we've seen that at various stages throughout his career and know that to be 100% true. Unbelievable player, great, but they're on a different level of the need to win. The hatred of losing drives them to not accept losing. Winning is expected.
Yeah.
Losing's unacceptable. And they even carried that. The All-Star game used to be, okay, first of all, the dunk contest used to be awesome. The three-point shootout used to be awesome. And the three-point shootout was the one thing that carried over. I didn't even see who won this year. Do you know?
I think it was Tyler Hero. Was
Tyler Hero won. Yes, you are right. Yep.
Yeah, I think Tyler Hero won.
He's the 5th Heat player to win that. Yeah.
But they even changed that. It used to be 5 shots at each one money ball.
One money ball.
Now they put the money balls all over the place. It's just
they get to make one rack of all money balls, right?
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah.
And then the game itself, it was a crescendo. J-Mac was talking about this. It kind of built like the dunk contest, ooh, ah, three-point contest, ooh, ah. And you'd had real people doing it. Larry Bird would win the three-point contest. Michael Jordan would win the dunk contest. And none of these guys participate in the dunk contest.
Again, that's a LeBron because Kobe did it. Kobe did the dunk contest. LeBron didn't.
Yep.
And I'm too cool to do the dunk contest. And everyone's like, oh, LeBron's not doing it. Why should I have to?
Why wouldn't you want it? If I was able to do that, that's all I would. As a kid,
I think it's a fear of not winning it. For him, he probably looked at it and said, the upside of me doing this, everyone thinks I'm going to win it. The upside of me doing it isn't worth the downside if I lose.
The GOAT did it.
I understand. But
I used to have Jordan and Dominique.
I can do. No, I know. And there was a rite of passage, too, young guys. Like when Kobe got in, he did it. Yeah. Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, like they went and won it when they came into the league.
Yeah.
Like your first All-Star game, you do the dunk contest.
Like Mac McClung, isn't he like a D-League guy?
Yeah, he's a G-League guy, and he's won it 3 years in a row, and he's an incredible dunker, but he's also a professional dunker.
Yes.
Is what he is. It's stunning what he did. He jumped over a car.
Don't you have to be like...
If I saw Mac McClung's dunks in game, I'd be like, dude, why is there a car on the court?
G-Man.
The great G-Man. I think the other part of it is...
Don't you think you need to be an NBA player
of course,
to be in it?
But he's the only thing that saves it because his dunking is so extraordinary that they let him do it. He's won 3 in a row. I think the other thing is like those dunk contests that you were talking about, ones that we're talking about, you did not have an avenue to see that type of dunking any other way.
Correct.
There was no YouTube. There wasn't and one mixtape guys. There weren't guys who just all they do is dunk. Like the only way you could see a dunk is like in the flow of a game.
Yeah.
And there weren't that many because if you went to the rim hard to dunk, you'd land up on your ass.
Yeah.
So, like, you didn't see it much. So, like, when you saw Jordan do the kiss the sky dunk or the free throw line dunk, you never saw that in a game. Now, that happens pretty regularly, and we have access to all of the dunking that we see everywhere else. So it's hard to do something new.
The other thing, too, is that you had to make your dunks.
Of course.
You had to make them. You didn't get to brick like 5 dunks and then
go.
Get, have one go in and be like, oh, yeah, there's my dunk.
Watch that one. Don't ignore the first 5.
No, you had to do it. The great Rex Chapman did it. Yeah. And then it used to build to the game, and the game was, again, kind of like all these things, where you got to actually see the best players in the NBA, thus in the world, in teams that you didn't often see. And then by the fourth quarter, it was real competitive basketball with the best players in the world.
Yep.
And it was awesome.
It was awesome.
4 teams?
It was also, in our youth, it was one team predominantly Lakers, one team predominantly Celtics, and it was true East versus West. Like, Karl Malone only ever played for the West.
Yeah.
Right? It was rare. Like, Chuck Barkley went East to West.
Right.
It was rare often to have somebody switch conferences. Like, if you were a great player, you played on your team.
Period.
You weren't bouncing and playing on a bunch. You played on your team. That's it. And now they've bounced for 15 years. And so, like, there isn't the territorial pride of East versus West the way that there was.
I used to love the NBA All-Star Weekend.
It was bad.
I didn't even spend 1 second on it. Were your kids into it?
They were a little. NBC watched SNL with me. The 2 littles watched some of the All-Star game. They were kind of into it.
I mean, you even had people trying to, Wembanyama and the Spurs team trying to, like, scam the skills challenge.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think the skills thing's stupid anyway.
It's awful.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is a lot of people saying
we dominate it, though, right? Then with the Cavs win again?
Did they win?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people comparing it to, like, what the NHL did with the 4 Nations. The 4 Nations is a cheat code. I mean, that's patriotism. So when that happens, you're going to get all the excitement that you want.
I mean, how about that? It's
an incredible gamble for NHL owners, and it speaks to how desperate they are for any sort of attention that it's working. It's fun, and the final is on Thursday. It's going to be awesome. This is a made-up tournament.
Yeah.
This isn't a World Cup. It's not an Olympics.
Is it
it's
U.S.-Canada rematch?
U.S.-Canada on Thursday night. It's going to be a Donnybrook, literally. But think of the risk that ownership for NHL teams are willing to take to play highly competitive, more so even than their regular season games.
Way more.
In the middle of their season.
It's like the Olympics.
Like the Columbus Blue Jackets 2 hours down the road. They are fighting for the 8th spot in the East. Their best player, Zach Werenski, is the number 1 defensive pairing on the United States team. If Zach Werenski goes down with an injury, they're cooked.
Yeah, it's the Jacket season's over.
It's done. And, like, they're risking that because more people are watching this than anything else. I think this is going to be like the Olympics. I think they're going to get a big audience on Thursday. They got a big audience for USA Canada last time, but I don't think it's going to transition to an audience for NHL hockey regular season.
No, because it's
like an Olympic.
It's a one-off.
Yeah, it's a one-off.
And those one-off games, like a Game 7, and I'm not a hockey fan at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the extent of my hockey fandom was making a lot of nice side living in college in various NHL games. And
those are fun.
In high school in NHL 94, which was
so great.
Pretty much the greatest game
Gonna
ever.
Make little Wayne's head bleed.
Oh, man. But when a Game 7, like I'll even flip on if there's a Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Game 7, I'll watch that. Or the gold medal game in the Olympics, I'll watch that.
Yeah, and
sure.
this Thursday, it'll be great. It'll be great.
It has a similar feel. Like, it feels like they're playing playoff games in the middle of the season.
It's crazy, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you're an owner of one of the NHL teams and you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah, right. I mean, like,
this is crazy.
Like, the Bruins' best defenseman is in the hospital with an infection that he got because of an injury.
The Kachucks
Charlie
are both
McAvoy.
banged up. Matthews didn't play. Austin Matthews of the Maple Leafs didn't play the last game.
I mean, Makar was out, but he got an illness.
The Kachucks are banged up from their brawls? Didn't they start the game?
They both started with brawls.
Fights?
Yeah.
They even called some dude from the Canadian team that wasn't even supposed to be in. He's like, get in here so we can fight.
Yeah, no. So you cannot compare that. That isn't an all-star game anymore. You basically created a made-for-TV event in the middle of your all-star break. So that's the thing that's a little bit.
So this is their answer to All-Star Weekend?
Yeah, they're not doing an all. This is the All-Star game. It's their answer to the All-Star game, the NHL's. They're not doing an All-Star game.
I mean, it's not bad. That's funny because
it's really risky, though.
2 years ago, the NHL All-Star Game was in South Florida, and I was there.
Oh, yeah.
And they were using the hotel we happened to be in randomly was like the NHL hotel. And they do all this cool skill stuff and, whatnot. But, I didn't realize this was
every 2 years they're going to time
this says the President of the United States is saying that he's going to the final.
Well, he was at the Daytona 500, on Sunday.
That was...
I mean, they're saying it was the greatest Daytona 500 ever.
That was cinema. I mean,
that's what they're saying. People are saying it. All right, couple other news of the day. The Browns announced a slew of coaching additions and changes. We've added Christian Jones at tight ends, Sanders Davis, assistant offensive line, Kyle Hoke, assistant special teams, Adam Morris, assistant defensive line, Ben Wilkerson to the coaching staff, Bill Musgrave, which we've talked about, Stephen Bravo Brown, and Nick Charlton. So those are some of the new roles for 2025. The franchise tag window has opened. Will close on March 4th. The notable franchise tag figures: quarterback is 41. The one to pay attention to is wide receiver, which is right around 26, because that is the T. Higgins number. You saw his mom this morning.
Didn't like it.
Not a fan. Not a fan of T. Higgins getting tagged down there. So that's where they stand.
The thing about it is, so that's 20. We'll call it 26 guaranteed. People are talking about him getting 30. So there's a $4 million gap there.
Well, it's also 1 year versus.
Sure.
Yeah. So, all right, there you go. Coming up next, we will go around the sports world, and we alluded to the Bengals issues. I thought a very timely story that ESPN put up over the weekend on the Bengals. We'll explain that for you. We're off and running a list of Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey, Browns fans, this one's winner of the local business platform presented by Minuteman is Redbeard Seasonings. Redbeard Seasonings started as a hobby in a home kitchen and has since blossomed into a collection of original recipe flavors, pepper sauce, steak, and brisket chips, even coffee. Check them out today to learn more about the local business platform. Visit browns.com/community/local business platform. We'll head around the sports world here. The Bengals are considered likely to franchise tag wide receiver T. Higgins if they are unable to reach a long-term contract by March 4th, per Tom Pelissero. If the Bengals tag him, they'll have until July 15th to reach a contract and agreement before the tag becomes permanent. Team also plans to retain Trey Hendrickson and Jamar Chase. All three guys are in search of long-term deals. So this is when I saw this story originally, I think it was in ESPN, I read it. I think this was the Bengals publicly answering Burrow's challenges.
Yep.
I think they listened to Burrow for like a month on every place that they had that he would stand in front of a live microphone saying, "You know you can do this.
Do it.
Do it." And this to me was them saying, "Well, we're going to try."
Right. We can't help it if he doesn't want to play on the franchise tag.
Right.
What are we supposed to do?
Right.
I'm with you. And I think, look, they should try to keep it together. I mean,
if you could keep two of the three, who would you keep?
The three are who? Chase, Hendrickson, Higgins?
Yep.
I would probably let T go because I think my quarterback is so good that I can draft somebody else into that spot and be good. Hendrickson is a very, very, very good pass rusher.
How old is he?
He is. That's what. Let's see.
Like my hunch is if he's already crossed the 30 threshold, I would probably do T.
So let's see. Age-wise, so he started in 17. He's 30. He'll turn 31 next season. And what's T? If T's like 26, 27.
He's like 20.
Oh, he's definitely T. It's 5. He's 4.
He's 25-6. T?
Yes. He's full almost 5 years younger. 4 years younger. He's a full 4 years younger.
Yeah, so I would probably do T.
And I like scoring. I think scoring is what the league's all about.
I'd take T and I'd keep Jamar and I would try and make it work. They had one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
And I'd draft an edge.
I'd draft an edge, yeah. And just keep drafting edges, or whatever you need.
The truth is, though, if there was a world in which I could keep Trey, let T go, and then pay, and then draft McMillan from Arizona.
I don't think he'll fall to them, though.
Even if I had to maybe move up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty pumped about that if I was them.
Yeah, he's a real one. Beyond, where they're picking that's probably more like the Emeka Buka world. And he's really nice
Matthew
player.
Golden world.
Yeah.
What about the guy from is it Missouri? Luther
Bolden.
Yeah.
Luther Borden. Yeah.
Borden. People are liking him.
Well, he was a 5-star kid. Elite traits certainly are there. I don't know build-wise if he would be.
People like him as a
big.
rounder. Yeah.
But is he? I don't know how tall he is. Like, that's one thing T gave him is Jamar gives him everything, and then T gives him kind of like that big target on the outside. That's why McMillan to be the A+, because he's that. Emeka's not that.
Right. I'm pretty sure that
Luther Burden is 6'2".
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure Lance Zierlein has him as the 5th best player in the draft. I think.
Borden?
Compares him to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, he was a huge recruit when he signed at Mizzou. So hard to believe times flash so much. That
this says he's 5'11", 205. This is on his NFL one, but I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah, that's always the tricky spot is like, does it fit? But yeah, I don't. They to me are the definition of the team when the NFL allowed for you to bring on private equity.
Yep.
They're the team for that. Like,
absolutely.
I don't know if the Brown family would do it, but they should sell 20% of it, 10% of it, whatever. That's what the Raiders did. That's how Mark Davis got all the cash. They brought in a group of guys, and not Tom Brady, another group of guys that gave him an influx of cash, and then that allowed for them to do things. I think do the same thing here if you're the Brown family. You want to keep this together because you're going to have to restructure those contracts. If you're going to try and get this done, you're going to have to restructure contracts and give out huge signing bonuses.
Yeah.
So that's to me what
you got to have a lot
do on that side of things.
I'm with you. That's a perfect. They're
the model.
They're the model.
Them and the Chargers would be another one. Joe Buck's going to return to Major League Baseball's national booth for the first time in 4 years. He's set to call opening day game between the Yankees and the Brewers on March 27th on ESPN. I'd forgotten it's been 4 years since he's done a baseball game nationally.
Yeah.
He's done Cardinals games.
Good for Joe.
Yeah.
I enjoy Joe Buck.
I do too. The home of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, I'm sorry, G-Man. I'm not like a corporate renaming.
Why is it no longer a field house?
Why? I don't either. That either. Why? Rocket Arena?
Why did it go from a field house to an arena?
Do you think it'll always be the Q? Or did you call it Rocket Mortgage?
I think I've always called it the Q.
Me too.
But then there were people the gunned.
Yeah, that predates me. But yeah, always the Q for me. I think if you are going to pay for the naming of a stadium, you better do it first.
Yeah, but it's still the same people.
I understand, all the same business. But even if you want it to like resonate, like Staples Center is not Staples Center anymore, but it'll always be Staples.
Heinz Field.
Right. It's never going to not be Heinz Field.
It's Heinz Field.
So like if when a stadium decides we're going to name the stadium, be the first company.
Yeah.
To name it. And then I think you got a chance because it becomes part of it. But otherwise, really tough.
I always think it's interesting, and we did this because we had, Cleveland Brown Stadium, First Energy Stadium, and now it's Huntington Bank Field.
Yeah.
So how do you decide if it's a stadium or field? I know in the case of Huntington, it's because Huntington Bank Stadium is the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So they already had one. So that's why we switched to a field. In the case of the other, it went from Quicken Loans Arena,
Yep.
which was the Q, to the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Yep.
And now it's Rocket Arena. So why did they ever go to the Fieldhouse in the first place? Was there a Rocket Mortgage Arena somewhere that we didn't know about?
I can't imagine. I mean, it's Dan's company. Maybe they just like the sound of Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse more than Rocket Mortgage Arena. You could also just have kept it Rocket Fieldhouse. Yeah, I don't know.
It's now Rocket Arena.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know why. So it started opening in 94 until August 2005. So I did know it as the Gund. I was here. Was the Gund Arena. Then Gilbert bought it in 2005. It was Quicken Loans Arena, the Q. Became Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in April 2019 when Quicken Loans rebranded to Rocket Mortgage as part of the facility's renovation and expansion. And it was renamed Rocket Arena in 2025 when Rocket Mortgage rebranded to just Rocket. I still don't understand why it didn't go to Rocket Mortgage Arena, and then now it could just be Rocket. Why did it go to a Fieldhouse?
Fieldhouse would be, that's the one I'm curious about too. Why not just Rocket Mortgage Arena?
Yeah.
They'll have a new tenant. We're getting a WNBA franchise here, a revival of the Cleveland Rockers. That'll be exciting. That league is on the come. One thing I think that league's got to be careful about is expanding too big too quick.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can really water down the talent. There's a lot of talent to choose from, but I mean they've got a few super teams right now, and already starting to see those be kind of redistributed. That type of thing could be a problem here as well. Did you see Caitlin Clark's agent over the weekend? There's no way that she could be paid her actual value, and I think he's right.
It feels.
How would you ever?
It feels right.
How would you ever be able to compensate her with their salary structure appropriate for what she delivers from a rating standpoint?
Yeah. What is she? So she leads the league in threes made, and she leads the league in assists per game.
Caitlin?
Yeah.
And also television audience times 10.
So is their season not started yet?
Oh, no, it's not till after the Final Four.
So that was her...
the women's Final Four, and then she went straight into it. She took them all the way to the national championship game with Iowa. Then they do the draft 2 days after the women's final, and then they do training camp, and they run through the summer.
So she led the league in three-pointers made and an assist per game. And my guess is and fantasy points per game, she was number 3.
She's a stud.
Yeah. My guess is she'll be in the tops in scoring this year.
Yeah. And from a rating standpoint, it wasn't close, like when she was involved and when she was not. From ESPN, Shaquille O'Neal is staying with TNT Sports on a new contract, more than $15 million per year. The news means that the cast of Inside the NBA is staying together, even as TNT is set to license out the show to ESPN starting next season. So they're all going. Is Chuck locked in on that? Is he locked in?
He claims he is, yeah. He said he's going to honor that 10-year contract that he signed. So
okay. So they're going to run – so ESPN basically bought Inside the NBA.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that Turner is still going to produce it.
Right.
So
how about this?
Go ahead.
I'm going to do some quick math right here.
Go right ahead.
Shaq, who we would all consider to be one of the most dominant, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Best players of all time. Mm-hmm. Do you know what his average per year salary was for his 19 years in the NBA?
I think it was quite robust.
Average. Career earnings divided by 19 seasons.
Yeah, somewhere he played for the minimum. I'm going to say like 8.
15 a year.
50, right at it.
And he's making 15
now. Yeah. Yeah. He was the first before they started making caps on the max salary. Remember, there never used to be a max.
Yep.
Him and Juwan Howard and Alonzo Mourning all got those 100 and Kevin Garnett, 105 years, 126, like the late 90s, early 2000s.
His best deal was with the Lakers in 99. He went 17, 19, 21, 23, 24, 27, and then was straight 20s with Heat, Suns, Cavs for his last year with the Celtics, where he's at like $1 million. 15. He's making $15 million a year though.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
pretty good.
Let's just say he's at 15.
Chuck's at 21 as well.
Chuck should be double.
Kenny's at what? Do you think 5?
He's got to be around Shaq. He can't be too much less.
All right, so we'll call him 15. And then Ernie?
It's got to be 10. I would think. 5 to 10.
So they're spending $61 million a year on that desk.
Yeah, probably.
I love the show. You love the show. What could the ratings possibly be?
They're not that. They're definitely not that. No. Shedeur Sanders said he only plays with us on Madden. Do we believe him? We will get to that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of the Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get $50 back in bonus bets from your first bet of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Viral clip this morning, Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders saying on a – this is the thing his dad does. It's his dad's – yeah. It's Coach Prime's little program that they do behind the scenes, that show, that he only plays with the Browns on Madden. Do you believe him?
I mean, he can play with anybody. I mean, I don't think it's just part of some elaborate conspiracy.
No, I don't either. I also think, I don't know. I'm sure he was like me when I got the game so I got the bundle.
Yep.
So you got the college game and Madden at the same time.
Yep.
If you have an ability to play the college game, and you're on the college game, and oh, by the way, playing with them in the college game is the most fun you can have on the game because he's really good and Travis Hunter is fast as...
Yeah, but their line's not very good.
It's fine. It's fine. In the game, it's fine. It's pure joy. Pure joy. The boys always play with the Buckeyes, and then I'll play against them with Colorado. They're the most fun team you can play with because of him and Travis Hunter, for sure.
I like that.
So, like, the idea that you could, like, play that game with or play Madden, which has, you know how much Madden I played? 3 plays. I played 3 plays of Madden.
I don't think I even own it this year.
You probably did when you got the college game.
I don't think I bought the bundle.
Oh, you didn't?
I don't think so.
I played 3 plays. I played with us. I'm like, all right, let's be patient. Let's try and just establish the run. Ran twice, 3rd and short. Linebacker for the Ravens jumps 66 feet in the air and intercepts the ball over the middle, and I said, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done.
I threw the control. I'm out. I'm done.
Good
I'll
night,
see you on down the
Irene.
road. Give me the college game again. I'll go play that. The gameplay's not close.
Yeah.
The college gameplay, you played the college game this year, right? Didn't you play a season with Arizona?
I did. I won it
How
all.
much fun was it?
I took J-Mac to the woodshed at the Greenbrier.
How much fun was that?
Very fun. I had a great. I don't know.
Great gameplay.
Jordan, did you have fun? No, he didn't have any. I didn't think so.
Who was he?
He was LSU.
And you were Arizona?
And I was Arizona?
Yeah.
Had you played with Arizona previously?
Probably. I was playing my season with him.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When you play like
I knew the playbook
one-offs,
a little
you
bit.
got to know the playbook, so you know where the money plays are.
Well, let's be honest. We're talking about LSU and Arizona.
Yeah, he should win. What's his problem? What's your story? Why didn't he? Dr. J, why didn't you win? What happened? Were you not ready for
I know
the
how to
smoke?
operate an offense.
I know how you know how to operate an offense, but like, come on, dude.
Me and my quarterback weren't on the same page.
Nussmeier.
Yeah. In my defense, we couldn't figure it out.
Dude, you got
Right when we
LSU's
thought we had a
guys.
slight of hope, got on offense, said, yeah, throw a pick. Few picks, actually.
Yeah.
Threw some picks.
Your boy's dangerous in those
Stages.
games.
Yeah. So,
I used to be. In my heyday, I was quite formidable. Now it's too much. You gotta know all the glitches, and you gotta know all the unblockable blitzes and before they patch it and change. It's nonsense. Playing these games competitively is
it's
fun.
too much. Like
No fun.
Yeah, the pre-snap stuff that you can do with them, move them here, do this.
Well, that I have no problem
All
with.
that
Just
stuff.
people who
all
like
that stuff that you do automatically, I don't understand any of it.
people who do it who are in the lab or
Yeah,
labbing.
Yeah. You know what I
don't have
did
time
to since I was stuck at home and I wasn't intending to be, I got out the old the PGA game.
The new one looks
Masters.
pretty great with Tiger in it.
The other ones, the EA one, the old Tiger game.
Of course.
I'm not saying, but like the one he's not in it. It's like he went with like 2K.
Yeah.
But the EA one that has the
Masters. Yeah, it's good.
So you can play the Masters. You get to play like all the majors, all of that. I'd much rather do that than what do I don't
great.
care about playing with Tiger or
Yeah, yeah.
Rory or whatever. Like I want to play the courses.
Yeah.
So they got all the courses on there, and it was like, all right, let's go.
It's a
play.
great game.
Let's play Augusta in the weather and like live a little bit. That's what we did.
Oh man, me and
So I played one of
Beatbox.
those.
Me and Beatbox back in the day used to have battles. Tiger Woods,
Tiger
like
Woods.
03, 04, 05,
Yeah.
06. The one where you could move the ball up or back in your stance a little bit.
Oh,
to
yeah.
get higher or lower. Oh man, was I tough. We'd have to play the made up courses. They had the jungle one.
The jungle one was almost impossible.
But
to
we
get the
took-
ball
that's
to
what-
stop.
That's what
Yeah.
we needed though. We
Yeah,
needed,
you got so good.
we
that
needed
you
impossible.
You needed impossible to be able to do it.
Like
they
if
still
we-
have some fantasy courses on it. There's one in Maine, one in Florida.
The fantasy courses are the best. They had that one. They had one that was in the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah,
That
I remember
was
that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Loved that course. And I want to say it was the Predator was the jungle
Predator.
course.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, those were the fancy courses were great because we got to the point where we would play those games, and it was. I mean, there was a while when I was right out of school, right out of college, so early 2000s, where I would be on the leaderboards in the international tournaments. I was formidable. But we'd play, and it'd be like any normal course would be nothing but birdies and eagles.
Yeah.
And what separated it was how many you dunked from the fairway. But then when you had the fancy courses, and it could be. You had to be on it.
They find in the new one they do when you play your career or whatever, and we set this up a couple of years ago. The boys and I did. They will give you weather that makes it tough.
Yep.
You'll get a severe wind that makes it
putting's
really
harder
difficult.
now than it used to be. It used to be
yeah. Putting is definitely harder, especially if you take all the grids and all that off, and you're just looking at the slope.
That'd be impossible.
Yeah, it's tough. But the wind I notice is sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, nothing you can do. It's the wind.
Yeah. All right, Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0 has dropped. We will hit that, among other things, in the second hour of the program. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Wallen is bringing his I'm the Problem tour to Huntington Bank Field on August 15th and 16th with country sensation Miranda Lambert, Thomas Rhett, and Ella Langley. I think she has a #1 album in the country right now. Ella Langley does.
Well.
Yeah, how about it? That's a banger. Tickets on sale now at huntingtonbankfield.com/Morgan Wallen. Don't miss out on this must-see summer show. Oh, you know what else I did? NBC had never, he and I were the only ones not sick, so he had never seen the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. So I've always been telling him, like, dude, these are great. Like, regardless of, like, the whether you're into the comic or not, like, these are just great movies. So we watched. I had forgotten. I guess I hadn't forgotten. It wasn't a big deal to me because there were years in between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Yep.
It's quite jarring to go from Katie Holmes as the female lead to Maggie Gyllenhaal as the female lead the next day.
Yeah.
You're like, wait. Like, he's like, Dad, what do they do? And I'm like, oh, yeah, they recast. He's like, why?
Yeah, it takes you out of it.
I'm like, I don't know. It bugged him for 40 minutes of The Dark Knight.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And so then I had to figure it out why. And Katie Holmes is a good Toledo girl. Joey from Dawson's Creek, God bless. She opted out. Can you imagine the representation that opted out of The Dark Knight?
That's wild.
Why? She wanted to do another movie. Huh. I think she could have been a Cruise then, and maybe he.
I was going to say she was
put
married
the clamps on it.
That was a strange period.
It's pretty strange to, like, bail on Christopher Nolan doing The Dark Knight.
And, like, that's a.
And she has, I mean, she's a major central part of The Dark Knight.
That's a bunch of gigs lined up, guaranteed.
Right. And her role in the second one is critical.
Big,
to what all happens.
Yeah.
And to, like, bail on that to go do whatever.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. They hold up great.
Have you ever watched Lord of the Rings with the boys?
They're not into it.
What?
They see the 3-hour run times. They're like, dude, what are we doing? Can't do it.
They won the Academy Awards.
I'm aware. But I think
great.
they see 3 hours and they're like, they have no point of reference on the material, which I didn't either. I didn't read the books. I didn't have any of that.
My dad, I grew up in a Tolkien household.
Yeah, well-versed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I didn't have any. But I still, they were cinematic events.
Oh, my God.
So we, watched them very closely. You catch all of them?
He did. Because
no,
the throw is so good.
Of course. We have not seen that. We have not seen the Harry Potters.
Oh, they'd love the Potters.
Yeah. Aren't those long too, though?
Yeah, but so what?
No, I don't think they have. They don't want to do it. It's hard to get
the
them
Lord
to
of the
sit
Rings
down.
ones, though. All 3 of the movies have natural midway points, so you could in all 3 of them watch them as 6.5-hour movies, basically.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them in so long. The last the last time I watched them, I fast forwarded through all the Frodo stuff. Like, Still Walking.
The Fellowship.
Let's go.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Still Walking.
Come on,
I know the ring stuff. Let's go.
They have got to watch. I mean, you have got to watch the bat. Why am I blanking on the name? Isengard? No, not Isengard.
Well, Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. You've got to watch. They've got to watch the Two Towers. You got to see Helm's Deep. Like, you've got to see that.
I agree.
That is a masterpiece.
It is. I think
the Fighting Uruk-hai.
That's probably the best. That one's probably the best of the 3 total movies in the way that it ends. The last 40 minutes or so.
One has a lot of exposition, but I love that. So one you have from the point where they go the whole kind of setup to where they actually get to Elrond and the elves, and then you have like what they do from that point on in the first one. So that's kind of like 2 movies.
Yeah.
Then you've got the second one. You've got Helm's Deep, but
That's
then
at the end is the battle. Yeah,
is Helm's Deep. So there's a halfway point in between the Rohan and all those people.
Yeah,
and then the third one has like a kind of a natural halfway point between Lord Denethor and all that stuff and the craziness where he's sitting eating those tomatoes. And
does
then
Pedro know him well enough to tell me where the halfway points are?
I do.
Or you do?
So they used to, ironically, because technology is so old, they used to come when they were first put out on DVD. They were broken up into 2 discs.
That's
each
right.
movie.
They were.
So there was kind of like
in fact, I have them on
point.
DVD. So I probably maybe we could do it that way. Throw that in the Xbox and do it that way, and then then I would know where the halfway point is. They do need to see those. Those are great.
Let's see. All right, halfway scene. Okay. Yeah, so they got this all listed out for you. All right. Get the extended issue and watch out for the black screens exactly in the middle of each movie. Fellowship of the Ring is cut into at an hour 45 minutes, the extended edition, when Pippin says at the end of the Council of Elrond, where are we going? That's perfect. Twin Towers is cut around the same time stamp, an hour 46 minutes. Return of the King is split at 2 hours and 7 minutes. Boom. So there you go. There it is.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll give that a shot.
Oh, man, dude.
Yeah, those are great.
Epic.
Yeah.
Epic films.
Your boy.
They're not quite ready for a foray into the Seven Kingdoms.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah, not quite ready.
Well, remember when you and I used to review that, you said you either needed to be like 25 or like completely emotionally balanced, like lots of education. Like you got to be pretty stable to handle.
Oh, yeah.
Thrones. I think you've got to be 25 to see Game of Thrones.
I think you could be in college.
You better be locked in.
Yeah. It's just gonna be hard to deal with what that little crud did to Roz. I mean, I still am upset about it.
Do you know that that little crud is in the Batman Begins?
Joffrey?
Yeah.
He like stopped acting after being Joffrey.
Yeah, because I think everyone
tortured
booed him and it's hard.
Yeah.
He was so good. He was so hateable.
Who was he in Batman?
He's a little kid that in the first one.
Man.
Katie Holmes actually saves him when Scarecrow's running amok. We got a Daniel Jeremiah mock 2.0.
And we got the perfect lineup too. Have you done it? Have you built it?
No, I haven't done that yet. We'll do that
at
after a break. We got this first, and then
All
we'll
right.
do that.
Okay, fine.
Or I guess we could do both of these and then stack at 226. Is that what do you think? 225? What do you think, G-Man? Yeah, let's do this first. Mock draft 2.0, Daniel Jeremiah.
All right, we'll do that.
Number 1, Tennessee Titans. Abdul Carter.
Fantastic.
Titans have their share holes to fill, decide to take the best player available in this year's class. They decide to find their quarterback of the future in next year's draft. That last line makes me want to hurl myself through a window. The idea that next year you'll solve it. No, we don't have to do it this year.
Yeah, we'll
do it next year. We'll find next year.
Fine.
I'm sure someone will be willing to trade at the top of the draft.
Of course they are.
For that, when there is a sure thing quarterback, which that doesn't exist.
No.
I can't wait to see what the price will be for the Tennessee the franchise. Like, do you have to you can have the Tennessee Titans, but we're going to take Arch Manning. Well, who's he going to play for? Doesn't matter. We got him.
He's not even going to come out next year.
What are we doing?
That seems nuts to me. Ludicrous.
Number 2, Cleveland Browns, Cam Ward. The Browns could look to Travis Hunter here, but they need to usher in a new era at quarterback. Fine.
Yeah, it's great.
Cam would be great.
Listen, I think Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are both worthy of that number 2 pick for the Cleveland Browns. I think Cam Ward's probably overall more talented, as I said, kind of in my thing, and we can go through these again, and I'm sure we'll talk with a lot of people at the Combine about him. And I think that Shedeur Sanders' accuracy, toughness, decision-making, all of it, would be great in our offense. I think Cam would be great in our offense, too. I think he, as I said, more talented, just raw tools, but Shedeur is... I love Shedor's offense, but this is what you need to do. This is how it goes. This is where you are. You get an opportunity to have any quarterback in this draft, and you take him at number 2. And I think we're starting to see people warm up to it. Finally, we're starting to see. I think we've done a lot of work here. We've done
good the Lord's work.
That's right, a yeoman's effort.
We have. They have Shedeur going to Vegas at 6.
Duh. That's where he never gets past there.
No.
Giants 3, Vegas 6.
Any other surprises here?
So
he's got the Bengals taking Jahdae Barron, the corner out of Texas, with pick 17, and your boy McMillan is on the board. He has him going 2 spots later to Tampa. Hey, Bake, Mike Evans on one side, McMillan on the other.
He's the heir. He'd be the heir apparent right there. That would be terrifying for teams in the NFC South. Steelers getting Ashton Genty, which seems pretty good at that point in the draft.
Yeah, and seems on brand for them too.
Yep.
Travion Henderson going ahead of Emeka Egbuka is wild to me, and I like Trey.
How about 4 Buckeyes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
23rd,
6 picks? 4 Buckeyes.
Yeah, Josh Simmons goes 23rd to the Packers, and Donovan Jackson goes to Detroit at 28. Jackson's the one who was a guard all year, and then they flipped him to tackle when they had injuries and performed really well. was talking to Dane Bruler this morning, and he said that a lot of teams in the league view him now as potentially a tackle because of how well he appointed himself in the run through the college football playoff. So
wow.
There you go.
Does Travion to Minnesota, is Aaron Jones, was he just on a 1-year deal? Maybe he was.
Yeah, I think Trey helped himself a lot by staying healthy, which is something he never really did. But playing with Quinshawn allowed for him to stay healthy. And then he's a total back. Like, he blocks out of the backfield. He can catch passes. He's kind of a never come off the board or off the field back.
All right, so the Vikings have a little more time to work out a way to avoid taking on dead money from running back Aaron Jones under their 25 cap. Signed a 1-year deal with the team last year, but included a void year to spread out the cap hit. The contract was set to void on Monday, but the Vikings and Jones have agreed to push that void date back to March 11th. That's one day before the start of the new year. If Jones' contract voids, there will be a dead cap hit of $3.2 million for the Vikings. Pushing the date back gives the two sides to work on an extension that would keep the Vikings from incurring that charge. So I think if they will get him extended, it would be less likely they would take Travion in the first round, I would think.
Yeah. All right, there you go. All right, coming up next, we will build our perfect lineup. We will also go and continue our tour around the AFC. Jason Horowitz on the Raiders side of things coming up at 2:30. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Oak's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, we have an NBC Build the Perfect lineup. We have $15 to spend. There is a list of players there you see if you're watching on YouTube. You see a list of players at $5. So the $5 players, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Brock Bowers, and then down from there in terms of the value of this. So I had asked you and G-Man, am I picking my best team or am I picking a fantasy team? And
just the best
team.
Who do you think the best is?
All right, I got mine. I got Burrow for $1.
All right, Burrow at quarterback, same.
That seems like a pretty good deal there. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay, hold on.
For $3.
So that was one way I was going with it, but I ended up not going that way. All right, so you have Jahmyr Gibbs.
And give me Laporta for $1.
Okay, you've got Sam Laporta for $1.
And then I'll take Chase and Jefferson.
Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson.
So $5 on Gibbs, Burrow, and Laporta, and $5 each on Chase and Jefferson.
All right.
So I'll roll with that.
I've got 2 squads. Because of course I do.
Because of course you do.
And I'm curious which ones you like. I like yours. I think Laporta, if this was Laporta coming off of his season last year, is not very inspiring to me. It's still solid. And then Gibbs, so I like Gibbs a lot.
He was a monster.
Monster. He's a monster.
And then I got the 2 best receivers in the game.
Yes, you do. So I went about it. I had 2 different ways that I went about it. So the first one was Joe Burrow.
That's the cheat code. He should not be $1.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. Then I went Bijan for $1.
I thought about Bijan. I gave great consideration for Bijan for $1.
So Bijan, in a kind of a shared situation.
The difference is Laporta that much worse than Kittle?
So hold on.
Or did you go Bowers?
Hold on. So Bijan was 14, 56, and 14 rushing, 4.8 yards a carry, and also could catch at 61-31. He had 1,900 yards, 15 touchdowns. Gibbs was incredibly productive. Then I went on this team, Bowers, who was the first team All-Pro tight end.
Uh-huh.
Then I took Jamar Chase over Jefferson because Jamar Chase has a relationship with Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. And then I paired him with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, so I had Neighbors and Lamb were both in consideration for me too, like in terms of other ways to navigate it.
Yep. All right, so
those are the other 2 I considered was Neighbors and Lamb versus
all right. So
Chase
here's
or
my
Jefferson, and then that got you a different tight end. But unless you get, to me, the drop off from Bowers to the rest of these tight ends is pretty big, which is probably why you took him.
Yep.
As the 5-pointer.
I don't. So this
I can't like. What's the difference between? How big of a difference is it between like Kelsey now and Laporta?
See, I don't think. I actually think the best. I think the best player on there is Bowers. And I think the second best one's McBride.
Yeah.
So my other team, my C team, we'll call it, was Burrow for 1, Saquon for 5,
okay,
Trey McBride for 2,
yep,
Jamar Chase for 5, and CeeDee Lamb for 2.
Yeah, I think the 2 that are so I like that team. I think the 2 that the real issue with this setup, the way they did this, Burrow being $1 is not representative.
He should have been 2.
He should have. Yeah, he's got to go. He should be here.
He could be there. Yeah.
He should come up to here if we're doing like you can't help but do this statistically.
Yeah.
Like you're thinking about fantasy and you're thinking about that. Like so he should come up.
Yes, he should not be $1.
He should not be $1. And then the difference.
Hurts should be $1.
As great as these 2 are, Chase and Jefferson. Like I don't know that they are that much better. Forget statistically.
Yeah,
I mean they both play in really good systems.
But
like Neighbors and Lamb, like CeeDee Lamb's unbelievable.
CeeDee Lamb last year had 2 years ago had 135, 17, 49, 12. This year he got a little bit banged up and he had 101, 1,206.
Right, Neighbors
had 1,207
right,
as a
so
rookie.
Like it's not that big of a drop off.
The two tight ends that are in their kind of own league are Bowers and McBride from just a production standpoint. Both over 100 catches, both over 1,100 yards.
Right. So Bowers.
So the question is Bijan? I mean, we did it right. We hit all the right notes.
Yeah. Joe's the cheat code though.
Burrow's the cheat code. Yes.
And so like once that happens, then this is what's nuts. That's one college offense. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson is a college offense that played together.
Yeah.
And their other guys are good too.
Yeah, Terrace Marshall.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a first-round running back. Marshall, Moss's kid was the tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, like, those two receivers and Joe Burrow played on one team in college. Yeah, no wonder he threw for 6,000 yards.
And didn't Brian Thomas and Neighbors play together?
Yes. Yeah. No wonder Jaden Daniels won the Heisman.
Yeah.
Thrown to those two.
Jaden Daniels could have been on this list.
Yeah. NBC pulled a monster Jaden Daniels rookie card.
Really?
Dude, it's crazy. He's like doing he did last night I was like ready to go to he's up there doing like live auctions with his cards.
On what?
On some app.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
So does he have to send them off to get
he
verified?
Sends them off. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Man.
All right, we'll continue our tour around the AFC. We will do so with the Las Vegas Raiders. Jason Horowitz, radio play-by-play voice, will join us coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, we continue our off-season preview and last season review around the AFC in Vegas. Jason Horowitz, radio play-by-play voice of your Las Vegas Raiders. He joins on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted, Cleveland. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's start with the Pete Carroll hire. He's a jolt of energy for sure, even at an advanced age. Were you surprised at the hire? And what impact have you felt just around town and around the organization with Pete in the mix?
Well, a couple things. First of all, hope you guys are having an awesome start to your week. I wasn't surprised because it had been discussed. You know, Pete Carroll's name was out there right from the get-go. And, you know, certainly there were a lot of thoughts that Ben Johnson might be the guy. But when Ben Johnson decided to take the Chicago Bears, it pretty quickly jumped back to Pete Carroll. And, you know, you talked about the energy. That there is something that is there with that. I've known Pete a while, and through mutual friends that we work with regards to the NFL, and nobody would guess that he's about to be the oldest coach in the history of the NFL. He coaches with that passion. They practice with that passion, and I think there is a legitimate excitement because you brought back John Gruden, and John Gruden had success in the NFL, but he had been out of the NFL for a long time from a coaching perspective, and then obviously everything fell apart with the emails and the lawsuits and all of that stuff. But since then, they haven't had an established head coach, and they've been searching for that. Rich Bisaccia interim, then Josh McDaniels was not established good head coach, and then Antonio Pierce interim, and then Antonio Pierce 1 year. So I think there's an excitement in that you go back to someone who has the pedigree of winning at a very high level.
Yeah, he has done it at a very high level. He brings in with him, and I'm curious to see what you thought of this, Chip Kelly, the new offensive coordinator, been at UCLA, most recently with the Ohio State Buckeyes as the OC on their national championship team, and that feels to me like a big move. What do you get the sense of that Chip Kelly is there to do? He's been a head coach in the league as well. What was your reaction to that hire?
Guys weren't trying to come up with money to get him from $2.1 to $6 million. Isn't that your job on the Cleveland Browns radio? I think a couple of different things. First of all, the money was staggering. Now it's a little bit different because the amount of new coaches are making so much more, and the bar is elevated. But if you look, I looked at just because I was curious. I looked at a dollars and cents from the start of the 2024 NFL season, and Chip Kelly's $6 million a year was more than 20 NFL head coaches last year. So that was startling. Now, again, that number is down now, but that was the first startling thing. But the second startling thing, guys, is that, you know, Chip Kelly, I think, is remembered for some of the, you know, in the NFL, his 3 years with the Eagles and one with the Niners. He was remembered for some of the quirky stuff, and people talk about, like, the smoothies and the diets and the things he was going to bring to the Eagles. And, you know, they went 10-6, which is solid, but I think people forget they went 10-6 with some quarterbacks that wouldn't think of as like the greatest NFL quarterbacks. One of them was Mark Sanchez. One of them was Nick Foles. He kind of got, you know, Michael Vick a couple years removed from prison back in the NFL, and like you remember some of the things he did there. So like he did it with different guys in different ways, and the offense his first 2 years with the Eagles not only was it innovative, but it was top 5 in the NFL both those years. So I think you're going to get a Chip Kelly that has been creative and successful offensively pretty much every time he's ever drawn up those plays. And I think the Raiders are going to benefit from that because from my time, guys, this will be my 4th year in the NFL. The last 2 years, the Raiders, they have struggled to get to 20 every single week. And, you know, if Chip Kelly can get him to 24, 25 a week, you're talking about a totally different team.
Yeah, you got to score to win.
Pretty simple.
It is very simple.
Yeah, so then that leads the question.
Hypothetically.
that leads the question, Jace, who's going to be the signal caller for Chip to orchestrate? What's the dream offseason for the Raiders at quarterback?
I think in a dream scenario they have a rookie quarterback, right? Someone. Now I say that without knowing whether or not our new GM John Spytek, Chip Kelly, and the staff, which is, you know, ever evolving. Chip Kelly was supposed to be back as an assistant GM, and the news came out yesterday that he and the team decided to part ways. So it's an evolving staff. But I think in a perfect world, they feel that either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is the future in the NFL and a guy that can go toe-to-toe with Mahomes and Herbert and Bo Nix, that's the guy, right? Because you're getting the guy at a rookie deal for 5 years, and with all the money that the Raiders have to spend, they're second most in the NFL in terms of cap space and behind the Patriots. You put that guy with free agents and signing your own free agents, and you think you've got a future franchise for years to come, like Pete Carroll had in Seattle when they hit on Russell Wilson and went 8 or 9 straight years of double-digit wins with a couple of 9 and 7 seasons kept in there. So that's the ideal scenario. But when you're sitting at 6, and the Browns and the Giants and the Titans all need quarterbacks, and let alone people behind you who might want to jump over, it's not completely in your hands. So, a lot of people are pointing to Sam Darnold. I don't know. I was told by one of our beat writers the other day on Super Bowl Sunday that everything's in play. And I wrote back, what does that mean? And he wrote back, literally that. In play. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's a trade for a name that you weren't expecting because of all that cap space. And I also wouldn't be shocked if they get one of those rookie quarterbacks in the top 5 or 6.
Do you think that they would aggressively, if they deem that, Sanders or Ward are there, would they be a team that tries to aggressively get into the top 2?
You know what? I'm not sure, because John Spytek comes from the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers, at least in his time, they weren't moving up. They were more – now, whether that means anything, I don't know. He wasn't the one calling the shots, right? He wasn't the general manager. So I don't know if you can go based on his history and background with the Bucs or other franchises and say, well, this is how he's going to play it. People talked about that last year with Tom Telesco in his 1 year, and they did not move up. Now, I also don't think they thought that 6 would be gone in the top 12, but they did not move up, and they hit a surefire, star in Brock Bowers, and they also got 2 starters in the second and third round who I think are going to be starters on the offensive line this year. So, Tom Telesco in the draft last year was very successful. And to his credit, they were also very successful in bringing in free agents not at the quarterback position. Obviously, that's a struggle, and he's obviously not there. But they were successful in other places as well. I think if Shedeur Sanders, guy that they think is the future of this franchise, and is the guy that they identify as a future star, would be aggressive in going to get him. I do.
So we talked about, the decision makers there, and you mentioned Tom Telesco, who's no longer there, but Tom Brady is there. And Tom Brady obviously played a role in this staff, and the GM who was with him in Tampa. How involved is he going to be in terms of his evaluation of these quarterbacks? And I know that he's got some ties to Shedeur and has liked him. How do you see his role in all of this playing out? I think that's fascinating.
Look, no, I do too. And there's still, Nathan, part of this, I'm still not positive about what he's allowed to and what not allowed to do, and that's the part of it. And I'm not asking questions or even
sure. I don't think anybody is.
And that's the crazy part. Like, that's for the 32 owners to figure out whether they like it or not. And he's not going anywhere from the broadcast booth, but he is absolutely playing a role, and it's been an active one, and it's been one that people have talked about and written about, and I don't think they're shying away from. And I'll give credit to Mark Davis in this. He decided actively for a while before it went through to pursue someone with more football knowledge than he could possibly ask to get into this franchise, and he did. And I think you'd be silly not to have Tom Brady play a role in who could be the quarterback of the future. I think that would be silly. But I also think it would be silly to think just because Tom Brady thinks someone is going to be great, that it assumes that next guy is going to be Tom Brady.
Correct.
Because it's not just the physical tools and the video that he's looking at. There's no way to know what the mental makeup of a person's going to be when they're under that scrutiny. So I think he's going to play an active role in looking at all these quarterbacks, talking to all these quarterbacks. I don't know what his role is in terms of what he's allowed to be in terms of combine and free agency and phone call. I don't know the answer to that. But I think in terms of asking the questions, hey, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of that guy? They'd be silly not to ask those questions.
Jason, since he's been a part of the ownership group, how present is he? Like, Is he around town? Does he make his? I'm asking. Does he live there? Like, how is he around the building? Like,
I don't know
nobody knows.
I mean, in the off season, he was definitely present. Early in the off season, coaching search, GM search, definitely part of all those. Some of those were on Zoom, right? Because he was doing playoff games. He was doing the Super Bowl, so he has roles elsewhere. But he was making stops into Las Vegas. What is his in terms of sitting with Pete Carroll and John Spytek and all those guys? I truly don't know. I don't live in Las Vegas, so that's part of it. I can't tell you, the ins and outs of how many days he's in the building. But he, is now in the post Super Bowl realm where I would think he has a chance to have an active role in all of that, and be part of what the Raiders are going to do with this free agency market.
You mentioned all that money. They've got some good pieces. Max Crosby on defense, obviously, and then on offense, Bowers is a home run. You talk to people around the league, they think that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. They think that he's that good. What would kind of be?
Well, let's slow the roll on that, though, shall
I'm just saying people from a talent standpoint think he's that good.
I know, but all year long, you're calling Browns games every week, you and Siciliano. You get this. You're getting the notes, and the NFL sends you these historical notes and these milestones to watch and these records to watch. And every week he was getting,
he's featured.
This behind this guy. He's that. Yes, of course. But some of the guys he was behind, not Mike Ditka, but some of the others were awesome for 2 years. And then would you say Kyle Pitts is a Hall of Famer?
No, I certainly would not. I would not. I find his utilization fascinating. That's another show, though. The fact that you can't get Kyle Pitts going, to me, is a guy looks like he's a different size human. He's a different species.
He is. We played the Falcons Monday night in December. He is a different size human being. I was down on the field, but my point is, he has the makings of being something special. But 1 year does not make Hall of Fame career.
For sure. Sure.
Let's see what happens, and let's see how it moves forward and all that stuff. But he has the football mentality and the work ethic to be something special. You were going to say something else, and I totally cut you.
No, that's good. That's good. We're right back at CBS, back in the good old days. What Brock Bowers, so let's just say, let me rephrase it then. You feel good about tight end. You got your tight end. What would be kind of your wish list, as we were talking earlier about scoring? Obviously, you need the quarterback, but around that, this was a team that saw Josh Jacobs go to Green Bay and blossom, have an unbelievable season. It's a good running back draft. Is this a team that you're thinking is going to add, probably they have money for a big target receiver if they want, and then obviously an opportunity to make a splash, whether it's free agency or the draft at running back? Skill. Is this a team that you think is going to attack skill positions?
Both of those questions are yeses. I would think so. Jacoby Myers is a really solid number 2 receiver.
Yep.
He had over 1,000 yards, and that's without Devontae Adams, and he missed 3 games. He is a solid, really good. Back to those record conversations, he is putting up some numbers that have never really been put up before by undrafted free agent receivers in their first 6 years in the league. And some of that was with the Patriots without a quarterback for a couple of years. Mac Jones and whoever else was in his last year in New England. So Myers is solid to Brock Bowers, bona fide star, tight end, another receiver. There's no question they need another go-to receiver. And so if there's no quarterback up there in the draft, people are talking about a Tedero and McMillan. There's a possibility that Travis Hunter's still around at that point, although I know a lot of people think he's corner, not receiver, but he obviously has that skill set as well. So that's something they're going to address. There is no question they need to address running back. I like Alexander Madison. He played hard, and I mean really hard every week, but he's your number 2, or your 1B. He's not an every down Josh Jacobs type back that we've seen your Saquon Barkley. He's not that guy. So they absolutely have to address that. They absolutely have to address receiver. We all know they need a quarterback, and they still need a couple of offensive linemen. Colton Miller, he's been the guy who's been the stalwart at left tackle for a long time, but he's been starting to deal with injuries the last couple of years, and it took him a while to get back into it from offseason shoulder surgery. They are floating around. Who is their left guard? Who is their right guard? I think they feel good about Jackson Powers Johnson, last year's second-round pick, but it's a new regime, and maybe the new regime doesn't think the same way. So the answer to your question is a lot. You've got 1, 2, maybe 4 guys that you're definitely going to start next year, and after that, everything is up in the air.
Jason, more likely Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers out there?
Well, I'd rather have Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
look, and maybe that's because I'm not a big. Maybe that's because I am a big believer in medicine and science, and I don't really want to have to deal with Aaron Rodgers' SpaghettiOs that he's going to take as his medicine. Maybe that's just me.
Yes.
But I think he's done, guys. I mean, and I think Russell Wilson's done too. But Russell Wilson, at least for the first, and you guys saw it being in the division, the first half of when he came back, it looked like what Russell Wilson could be. And even last year with Sean Payton in Denver, he still put up really good numbers. It just didn't work anymore. Yep. And for whatever that is. But obviously he and Pete Carroll have a relationship that frayed at the end because they traded him. But they have a working relationship that goes back a decade. And so I would 100% rather see that than the guy who had a worse record on the same roster than Zach Wilson had the year before. And he got Davante Adams. So I would much rather see Rodgers, and I may quit and apply somewhere else if they sign Aaron Rodgers.
He's clearly well liked. He's well liked around this league. Real quick, you mentioned Davante Adams. I thought kind of the way that all went down last year was pretty wild. Now that you've had the distance from the season to go through it, what did you think about that Davante Adams situation? Because I'm pretty sure it started against us, where he was all of a sudden just not playing, and then it was kind of went downhill from there.
I think it started way before that. I think
sure.
I think some of the issues between Antonio Pierce and staff and Davante Adams and stuff, really, frankly, started before Antonio Pierce was head coach. I mean, you guys all saw it on Netflix, and they downplayed it during the summer. But last year when that show Receiver came out, he was visibly hurt, frustrated, and angry with what was happening with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brian Hoyer and some of that stuff. So some of it started, and it was a carryover effect. And then beyond that, I'm not really sure what happened with all this, and this is not firsthand knowledge with Antonio Pierce or Davante or any of those guys, but he had talked up Aiden O'Connell. Then they decided to go with Gardner Minshew. And week 1 did not go well. Week 2, he was awesome, both of them, but not until the fourth quarter. But Davante Adams and Gardner Minshew handedly brought the Raiders back in Baltimore for a massive comeback fourth quarter upset win of the Ravens back in week 2. And you're like, all right, everything's going to be okay. This team has a chance maybe to be better than people believe. And then you put the awful performance against the Panthers, and then he got quote-unquote hurt in practice that week, and then we never saw Davante in a Raiders uniform again. So I think there's a bunch of stuff that was built up. I think some of it then carried over, and then the team just offensively wasn't very good. And then he went to the Jets, and they weren't very good. So, look, Davante's got a lot left, guys. We see it. There's no question that he's got something left for a couple of years, and he is going to make someone's roster better, wherever that is, from a relationship standpoint, and obviously a football mentality. It frayed with the Raiders early last year.
Jason, this was great. It's always awesome catching up with you. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time today.
Yeah, dude. Good talking to you.
You guys got a prediction of what week you're in Vegas next year?
No, but I'm excited we'll be back. I'll tell you what, just selfishly, I'd like it to be in December.
Can we go now?
Yeah,
like
now would be fine. We can
there
play.
If we could. I mean, get a
great.
couple of teams and we go play
now.
Go
scout it, do some advanced scouting.
Too cold.
It's 17 here now, Jay. So like,
it's all relative, brother. It's all relative.
I had someone ask me if our children were interested in a softball tournament in July, and I reminded them that it was 115 degrees for 19 straight days last July, and the answer was affirmatively no.
Good talking to you, man. Thanks for your time.
Bye, guys. Take care.
All right, see you. Jason Horowitz, radio play-by-play voice of your Las Vegas Raiders. So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right. Next week at this time, we will be completing our first full combine show from Indy. We'll be there in a blink.
Yeah.
We're going to be done, and then we'll be. Do we have dining set up for Tuesday night?
We do.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, we do.
Are we greenlit on what is appropriate?
I don't know, but I'll go find out about that.
I'm not worried about you. You don't.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, you're fine.
I think we'll be fine.
When does Gibby come back?
Not till Thursday.
Thursday.
What a week off for him. Good for him.
Yeah, good for Gibby.
Good for Gibby.
1 minute.
He's out there
I
living.
will say you did a heck of a job today back there, gentlemen. A heck of a job.
Yeah, yeoman's effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
It was really good.
Show goes on.
All right. So I'm going to try. Do I do one episode of White Lotus or do I start Severance? Because we should be free and clear. I got basketball till 7:30. Then I'm free and clear. After 9, the kids will all they'll be all heading up.
I think Severance, you're gonna want to start and you're gonna want to rip 3 episodes.
Okay.
Because the first one's kind of slow and you need to
30.
You need to kind of get into that world. Now White Lotus, you have 1 episode to watch before next Sunday. So I mean, you have lots of opportunities to do it. There's nothing that's I
think if I watch White Lotus, then you and I can talk about that tomorrow.
Well, that's fine. Watch it.
If I watch Severance, I can't. I got to catch up to you before we can have that conversation.
It's been a long time since I've really just thought about a show the way that this show makes me think about it.
There you go. All right. Next level's next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.